This is Chem 341, Physical Chemistry for the Life Sciences. When I was designing the syllabus, I knew we were going to have to take some time to look at other infographics and get a sense of what's out there, what do we like, what don't we like. And Adam said, here's something you could consider: collectively design your rubric for grading. And when he explained it to me, I thought, this is exactly what I want to do. You know, I can retain some control over, I'm going to be very, not in charge. I'm going to look at the content rigorously, and that's going to be half of the infographic. But then let's decide together where the other half of the points are going to come from. And I think the class decided it was going to have an aspect of how images are used, how text was used, how the overall layout was designed, and then they included a part for creativity. And one of the things I really liked about that is I felt like the pressure was taken off of me to be, in terms of grading in this visual realm where that's not my expertise. I'm good at grading exams with questions with fixed answers, but I didn't want it to become oh, I liked this one more than this one, so you get the A and you get the B. And so having that rubric that we decided on collectively midway through the semester, everyone had access to it throughout the entire production and process of their infographics. I think that it made me feel a lot better, and I think the students had a clearer idea of their expectations. I had one student that made a very technical infographic describing prion proteins and how the misfolded protein is the thermodynamically stable product, and the biologically active protein is the kinetically favored product, and contrasting the difference between the thermodynamics and the kinetics in that sense, and why it has some consequences biologically. That was a very rigorous scientific infographic. It wasn't as beautiful, but it conveyed a lot of information. I had another student who did an overview of Electron Microscopy, which won the Nobel Prize that I guess last fall. And they were just walking through the basic steps of, this is the machine you would buy, this is how you would freeze your samples, this is how you, in a very hand-wavy, no equations sense, this is how you would reconstruct the images. And then I had some students, one student in particular did an infographic about, it was a sway presentation about why popcorn pops, talking about the pressure building up and how it expands. So they all targeted different audiences, and I asked the students to specify what was the audience they were intending to send the infographic to. And I think they all, for the most part, did a pretty good job targeting those audiences. When we turn it into the final assignment, I said, part of your infographic, you're going to turn in a separate one-page explanation that includes who your audience is, but then you'll be graded on, do you match your infographic to the audience you said you're targeting? I felt like I was engaging with the students' comprehension of the material in a different way than when I do regular exams. Having them produce something, I felt like I understood the students' interest, level of understanding, ability to communicate differently. And that was at least interesting, and I think also helpful when it came down to assigning final grades. I liked the grading of it. It was a much more pleasurable experience than grading a stack of final exams at the end of the semester. And I think partly because it was this engaging with the students as well. There are certainly classes for which I would think this is a totally inappropriate assignment. But for this particular class, I feel like it's a nice way to encapsulate a lot of what they've learned through a lot of chemistry classes and put it all together.